And that's the wrong angle because it's supposed to be like this, pushing. So we'll make that adjustment. If I go in a straight line like this, that'll keep this angle honest, and then I could just mind my push angle. So what I'm going to do is do it like this, go straight up like that, because I've established that I like to push. So that was going kind of okay, but when I was welding, I was realizing that I was too far from the work and that my work angle was more like a 40 degree, and I'm really intending to get more like a 10 or 15 degree. So I'm going to make that adjustment now. The adjustment is always staying within like a 1/4 inch of the work, and my push angle here, I'm trying to just make it be about 10%. Or 15 at the most. That went really nice. I feel like I'm developing a dust bunny here. I've got some kind of foreign object there. So that was one of the nicest beads I've run this morning. I like it. It's not even so tall. And what I did to get that bead, which made me happy, was I got like within a 1/4 inch of the work, maybe even closer to that. And also, I'm really trying to be religious about keeping this only maybe like at a 10% angle. And I could just tell that it was penetrating. And you know, you're going to make a straight line if you're going straight up like that. So try to capitalize on that success and do it again. I was real happy with how that went. Real happy. So I'm just going to run the rest of this bead here, and then I'll do it again. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to run up from here and another stringer bead. My helmet's a little too tight. Crushing my brain. And I'm going to come up like this. And I'm going to hold a really tight work angle. Really tight. And if I'm going to err on any side, I'm going to err on the side of the perpendicular. Reposition my hands here. That wasn't a very steady weld. getting really close to the work there. I like how that works because I just feel like it's penetrating. So I like how this is going. I think I might have actually been perpendicular, and I like the results. It's a weird thing with this piece of metal. It wants to go all crazy right in the middle of the metal. Wonder why. See what's on the other side of that, because for some reason every time I get right here it wants to spatter. Nope, there's nothing going on. There's some evidence of my heat penetration. That's good. I like that. You can see it coming through on the other side. That's really good. I really love penetration. So now what I'm going to do is going to come up from the other side here. And if I go like this, I'll be able to lay my arm somewhere where it's not hot. So that's the plan, is to go for some, what do we call those, vertical stringers? That was functioning perfectly. I felt like it. Okay, I really like how this is going, and I'm going to celebrate with making some joints, because that's what I like to do. I have more fun when I'm working on joints. So if I go like this, I'll have a horizontal fillet. If I go like this, I'll have a butt joint. So since it's already on the ground there, I am going to go like this for my butt joint. And I'm going to remember to tack, so it doesn't open up a crack. Okay, got a bit of a height difference there. Okay, well if there's going to be a height difference, I'm going to choose the horizontal fillet. And I'm just going to hold it with my hands while I tack it. That went terribly. It's a bird's nest, and it blew out the developing dust bunny. This is just about the ugliest tack weld I've ever seen. Right there. I don't even need to point it out. That is disgraceful. Okay. So to make an adjustment for that, I'm going to go get my side cutters, so that when I start out I can have a nice short tip. And a little more bird's nest for good measure. Well, this tack is just really upsetting. Let me see if I can't help that a little bit. So here I've got a horizontal fillet, and I want to push. Going to start out with a nice short wire. Okay, so let's see how that's going. It's going pretty nice. Here's a close-up. I was just wondering about my travel speed. It looks functional. I think I'm going to adjust the camera a little. Make an adjustment just for the sake of the camera. Okay, let's critique this weld. Let's get real critical of the horizontal fillet weld. We had the disgraceful tack. I like this. You know, that's good for me because I'm a new welder. Here, I think I was failing to hold it close enough to the workpiece. And then I brought it in tight, maybe corrected my angle. Here, I didn't get the material down. This is a start to stop. And then here it's just inconsistent. There's evidence that I need to turn up my gas, but I don't do it because I'm almost running out of C25. And then here it's not the best. Here I'm inclined to put on a second pass. I was definitely making sure to shove the wire into the crack. So here's an attempt to clean, obviously. And this second pass I do is going to be at the bottom. Along the bottom. That went really nicely. I was really keeping my eye on the puddle. And I was really making sure to get close to the work. That might have been the first time in my life as a MIG welder where I was minding the puddle. Man, I was just jamming that nozzle in there. That seemed to go pretty nicely. Not a beautiful bead, but it seems to me that it's serviceable. So that was so much fun. I'm going to go for another pass up at the top. And what I'm doing here is I'm real close to the workpiece. I mean, real close. Almost so close it obstructs my vision. And I'm just jamming it in there. And I'm trying to keep it more toward the perpendicular, but that really hinders my visibility. And what I'm looking at is the puddle. And I'm trying to always tell myself to move faster. Great. That's at the top of the horizontal fillet. I like how that was going. What I'm going to do now is I remember I have a piece of angle over there. So I'm going to come back with a piece of metal. Maybe this here would get me a butt joint. So that's what I'm going to do. It's time to practice a nice butt joint. Great. And I'll even go like this. I wonder if that'll make a difference. I don't think it'll hurt. So this piece of metal's hot. Okay. So it's time to practice a butt joint. Let's look at my tacks. There they are. Don't need to point them out because they're tacks. They look serviceable. And now it's time to weld the butt joint. I like how that went. I used to have a job at a MIG shop, and I was a grinder. So his welds, he had been doing it 25 years, and his welds weren't that tall. So I feel like that's a serviceable weld, but it doesn't need to have that much material on top. So I think what I'll do next time is move faster. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this over, and there's going to be a butt joint on the other side for me. I'm always after the joint. There it is. Ooh, my, it's on an angle. So, guess I'll weld it on the angle. So here I am welding on a bit of an incline. See how that goes. I smell something burning. Hopefully it's my neighbor's cooking breakfast. Something's burning. Smells like food. Well, that metal is freaking hot. Okay. Like I say, my job used to be, I had a job 4 hours a week where I would just grind MIG welds. And, you know, he did a great job, obviously. And so I know what I'm looking for here. It's just a weld that does the job but doesn't have a lot of extra height. The MIG shop where I was at, he would grind all his welds. Well, not all of them, but 95% of them. Looks like my side cutters are getting dull. So there's a little bit of a nub here I can weld, and then one on the other side. That's the inside corner. Nope, it's already welded. So it's really fun for me to weld things in here. So here's a piece of decorative that I got from the shop where I worked at. So I guess what I'll do is weld it right here, right here. Here's some rebar. More of the same thing. It's going to be just about the same thing. All right, that looks like it'll hold. Here's a box of scrap. The big shop that I used to work at did structural stuff, like gates and fences. So we have this address sign. It's like somebody used to live at 440 something, and this was in a California wildfire. 440. So this seems like it would be a good thing to do right here. Well, that would be blocking the view, wouldn't it be? So I'm going to go like this, and I'm going to tack it. I'm going to center it, eyeball center. Not particularly proud of those tacks. This tack worked out pretty good. So now what I have is a horizontal butt joint situation. I'm going to reposition the camera because I want to be comfortable. I want to bring this up a little bit. It's not going to help the ground any. It's not going to help rigidity either. But I can weld that comfortably. And I'm going to push. I'm not getting a good ground because this piece is so rusty. So I think I'm going to try to start on my tack weld there. Yeah, I can't see very well. Okay, looks like it's working. Okay, well that's not going anywhere. Here's what I have now is horizontal butt joint here. Going to come across here. Okay. I think what I'll do is I'll take a look at these beads I just put down and be critical of them. So this is the bead I just made. It was horizontal. Probably the first horizontal MIG weld I've ever made. It looks like it was serviceable. Looks like it had enough material and that it penetrated enough. Extra material. There's no porosity in it. You can see the stops and starts. It would definitely need to be ground off. It's not a pretty weld, but it looks like it did the job. I would like to, in the future, just be able to make a weld like that, but have it be flatter. And then the other side's probably going to be the same thing. The other side's not a pretty weld. Over here coming from the tack. I wonder if that even fused right there. So it looks like it would have penetrated and gone into the crack. I mean, obviously this piece of iron's not going to fall off here. And then looks like I had enough material. There's a stop and a start, maybe possible low point here. When I worked at that MIG shop, like I said, he would make the welds and I was the grinder. And his welds might have looked something like this or flatter, about something like this. They were really flat and I would just grind it off. And so if he had a real tall weld like this, it'd be a lot of grinding for me. And then sometimes after I would grind it flat, there would be a low point and he would just come over it with the MIG gun and just kiss the low points and I would just grind that again. It worked pretty well. But it's no fun to, if you're going to work in a MIG shop, you want to be the welder, not the grinder. So this is an inconsistent blob, ugly weld, which would have to be ground down. So now I have this piece, which is really thick. A really thick piece. And thinking of where to put it for practice welding. I could go like this. Seems like I could get some kind of a lap weld out of this. This is going to be a lap right here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to tack it like this. I'm going to tack it. Oh, looks like it's going to hold itself up. So what this is a lap joint. I would sure like to avoid having to cut this off every time. I think if I stop very near the weld, that would make it shorter. And I'm on my way to developing another dust bunny here. Well on my way. See, this is what I'm calling a dust bunny. I don't like that. That makes me think that I'm really close to the work and that it's spattering. It also makes me think I could lubricate the nozzle. So I have to keep in mind this bottom piece is much, much thicker. I did that weld blind. I couldn't see where I was working. So now what I have is, would we call that a horizontal lap joint? And I've got some access issues here. So this, I could do it vertical. No, I'm just going to do it like this. Okay, that went kind of nicely. The whole piece is heating up a lot. And like I say, this was in a California wildfire, so it had a lot of toxic stuff in that wildfire. So I'm breathing that.